Hey guys, I'm Dov, and today I'm back with more Total War Warhammer 2 online action. We're here today with Norsca. They're going to be taking on pre-DLC Lizardmen. Figured I would showcase another battle with one of the, no DLC factions. Since the DLC's just been announced, we can sort of talk about some different things. Looking at Norsca's build first, led by Throg, we've got frontline of Marauder Champions, 2 Javelins with some Marauder Spearmen, Armor Skinwolves out to the flank with a Death Sorcerer, and it looks like Moths of Savagery and Beasts of Tashnar over on the far side. For the Lizardmen, we've got 2 Feral Carnosaurs, a Heaven's SLAAN, some Saurus Warriors through the center, Temple Guard, a couple of Skink Jabs. Pretty interesting stuff. And the champions just going to come straight through the pipe here and get right into it. These Saurus Warriors do not have shields, so they don't have the greatest melee defense in the world. But, of course, 52 weapon strength and, 29 melee attack. Definitely not too bad. Looking like we're getting some magic going down. We've got Curse the Midnight Wind on one side, Soul Blight on the other, so that extra armor sundering means the non-AP champions will do quite well. Likewise, on the flip side, the Saurus Warriors will trade more efficiently with the armor sundered on the champions themselves, so definitely some give and take. Very nice banishment in the back line, going to rip apart those Javelin Hunters. The Wind Blast wasn't maybe quite as effective because they were already on the move, but nonetheless a decent spell there. You can see the Beast of Tashnar coming in, feasting on some Skinks here on the flanks, and the Beast of Tashnar, the Moths of Savagery unfortunately got tangled up with Temple Guard and Feral Carnosaur there, so that's definitely not the best. Over here though, this Feral Carnosaur caught to the back line, trying to disrupt these Marauder Javelins, but as soon as he goes in rage, which he will quite quickly because Throg is in here, he's got Fight or Die active, he also popped the Wintertooth Crown to make these Javelins unbreakable. So they're now pouring in a whole bunch of missile fire, this other unit especially, and it's not doing the greatest for the old Carnosaur there. The SLAAN tries to use the Shield of the Old Ones to help mitigate some of that damage, but that Carnosaur getting routed off. It's pretty unfortunate. Meanwhile, the Beasts of Tashnar sweeping up and around the flank. Maybe are going to try and get on the Toad Boy himself, but certainly looks like another Soul Blight going down. Or was that an Overcast? Aspect of Dread Knight, interesting. So everything now causes terror. We'll see if that is effective at routing off any of these units. But this SLAAN boy, unfortunately, is just getting filled full of javelins. Definitely not the best situation. And you can see the champions are trading very effectively in the front line. They're just, they're able to sit here. It looks like that Aspect of Dread Knight did terrify away some Skinks. And the second Carnosaur is going to more or less do exactly what the first one just tried to do. Come in here, get beat up by Throg, and then side-shotted by the Javelins. So a little bit of a rough situation for the Lizardmen on that front. We've also got the Armored Skinwolves coming through. They're going to be able to do some good anti-large damage as well, of course. Might take a little bit of friendly fire, but that's fine. Ooh, it looks like they took a nasty hit from the Carnosaur, though. They might actually get terrified away here. Skink Javs trying to support as well. They're throwing into the Marauder Javelins there, and here comes the other Carnosaur back from route, so a little bit of a timing push from the Lizardmen trying to come back in this game, but the other unit of Javelins is still online, able to pour in some very effective fire here. The other Carnosaur gets routed off. The SLAAN just can't sit in one place for too long at this point. Champions all still relatively healthy as well. You can see all of the units are still for the most part fighting, and they're low on HP, but their leadership's doing just fine. Looks like we got another banishment there. Not quite as effective as the first, but it still did some good damage against those Javelin Hunters as the SLAAN tries to claw his way back. With the balance power not looking great with the loss of the 2 big dinos there. It's definitely looking pretty rough. These Temple Guard trying to cut through the champions, but the champions with 58 melee defense versus only 32 melee attack for the Temple Guard. Temple Guard just don't have the best combat stats in the world when they're fighting other infantry. They're definitely meant more against large, and over here they will tear apart those Armored Skinwolves very efficiently. But on the other hand, they are still getting flanked by the champions. Looks like the SLAAN might be exploding a couple of them. Meanwhile, over here, Throg and these champions are just grinding through the last of the Temple Guard here. Throg, of course, not really designed to fight Temple Guard, but with the support of this many champions, he's perfectly happy to sit here and provide some extra AP and Frostbite and so on. These Temple Guard here did get the Harmonic Convergence. They're able to finish off those Armored Skin Wolves now pushing up the hill. Another nice Wind Blast cutting through those Javelins, trying to shut them down, but they're still holding their leadership together. Javelins also have decent enough melee stats. 23 melee defense, 27 melee attack is comparable to like the Unshielded Saurus, for example, in terms of their combat stats. Shielded Saurus will be able to do a little bit better here. They're holding out okay on the flanks here, but the champions, the 4 champions, just a lot to deal with, and unfortunately the Temple Guard are not able to grind through them all efficiently enough, and it's just going to be a loss for the Lizardmen. So yeah, in terms of the game here, certainly the Regiment of Renown Temple Guard would have been useful, just because of their better combat stats. They have Guardians, so they can kind of guard the SLAAN, give them a little bit of extra resistance and so on. In terms of the SLAAN spell composition, I would have liked to have seen Chain Lightning along with the Banishment so that you can really layer the double Vortex and just tear these Javelins apart. Salamanders would be great in this matchup, just because they're relatively quick, they can kind of stick and move. Norsca has some mobility options, but they're all relatively light, and I'd be curious to see with the Salamanders, you know, what their ranged attack looks like, what kind of damage it does. If it's like a lot of the other fire-based ranged units, like Iron Drakes, you know, Warp Fire Throwers, it's going to be very good at cutting through low armor infantry, so I'd imagine that it would be very effective in this matchup. It would have been certainly nice to have some, especially depending on their speed. If they're pretty fast moving, if they can like roast hounds and then make sure to stay out in front of the other mobile units that Norsca can bring. The fire damage obviously is going to be good against the Ice Wolves, or sorry, the Armored Skin Wolves here, because they are weak to fire. They only have 70 armor as well, so regardless of the AP values of the Salamanders, they should be able to do some good damage against Skin Wolves regardless, so I definitely would recommend, and of course against Throg as well. Don't forget, he's also weak to fire, so yeah, Salamanders would definitely have helped here. The Regiment of Renown Temple Guard would definitely have helped here. I'm trying to remember the other Regiments of Renown. It's it's been a long day since yesterday when I recorded that other video, but yeah, definitely just having more of the Regiments of Renown certainly would have been helpful here. But yeah, fun stuff. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below about what kind of new stuff that the Lizardmen have access to would have helped here. They didn't say anything about it in any of the DLC release stuff, but I would be surprised if we didn't get some more expansions of the Lores of Magic, just because, for example, with the High Elves and the Dark Elves, they both got access to more Lores of Magic when they got their DLC pack, so I'm hoping that the Lizardmen get the same treatment. Specifically, and I know I've talked about this in other videos, and I will continue to talk about this until it happens, but I want a Fire SLAAN, because, again, against Norsca, fire damage is really, really, really good, and the fact that, you know, Lizardmen should have access to all the Lores of Magic, technically. I can see why maybe you don't want a Life SLAAN. That could get a little bit gross with the healing dinos, but Norsca, weak to fire, it would be great to have a fire SLAAN to be able to layer on that Kindle Flame effect, give your Saurus and other infantry units fire damage, you know, your Temple Guard and so on with Flaming Sword of Ruin. Burning Head is just such a good utility spell in a number of different matchups. Plus, if we had a Fire SLAAN, they could take both Banishment and Flame Storm at the same time, meaning you don't need 2 casters or 2 characters to achieve that effect. The big single entity Salamander would also probably be pretty good here. I forgot that they had mentioned that on the unit list there. But yeah, just generally the fire damage for the Lizardmen would be very helpful here. Fire SLAAN, it may be worth taking a couple solar engines here. We'll see. The Fire Leech Bolas I'm not the biggest fan of. They can do okay against some infantry, but people tend to bring champions more often than not in this matchup. Honestly, though, because Norsca is so good at killing monsters, I'm not the biggest fan of the Feral Carnosaurs here. With the Temple Guard, you have enough in the tank to take down, like, Famir and stuff. The biggest danger is going to be those champions. So, on that note, you might want to take either just some cavalry, you could take some Cold One Riders to give you a bit of extra charge and, armor-piercing punch. Get a good rear charge or something. You could take some Clever Girls to do more or less the same thing. Hit a little bit less hard, but they are nice and cheap. Chameleon Skinks are also really good in this matchup. They have poison in melee. You don't really want to get them caught out in melee, but they will do reasonably well at a distance. And champions, I mean, they have 80 armor, and with Curse of the Midnight Wind sundering them down to 50, these non-AP missiles will definitely do well. But again, this is definitely one matchup where the DLC units are going to help quite a bit. The Salamanders especially, I think, are going to be really, really good in this matchup. We'll have to wait and see kind of how their stats play out. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed watching this battle. If you do like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification button, so every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time.